Hello everyone and welcome to the third edition of the 2017-18 Piqua High School Boys Basketball Program. I'm Lloyd Shoemaker, your host, and sitting beside me is the star of the show, Coach Grasso. First of all, congratulations. Let me tell you first, folks, we're recording this on Wednesday, the 24th of January. Last night, Piqua had a very exciting ball game against Fairborn. You won that ball game 52-51. Tell us about it.
Well, we were down at half, 5 points. It had been a battle, defensive kind of battle. Neither team was finding the hoop too much in the first half. Took a little bit of a lead in the third quarter. Had a nice quarter there, and they scrapped back. We did a good job of limiting. They have a player who averages 20 points a game, and he heated up in the fourth quarter, kept his team in it. He hit a deep three to tie the game with 10 seconds left, and I generally will let the players decide rather than calling a timeout. That way the defense can't get set. The coach will be able to manipulate their defense. So Ben Schmeezing got a great look from three. You know, it's our best player. I'm okay with that. It bounced long. Hayden Shrub grabbed the rebound around the free throw line and threw it up in the air. And the buzzer went off, and at the same time, I also heard a whistle. So after some discussion, they decided they'd give Fairborn 1 second on the clock. And Hayden went up there. He missed the first and called a timeout, settled him down, told him we have trust in him. Senior player, it's something he'll remember for the rest of his life. Sure enough, he knocked it down. They called a timeout. We set up our defense, and we were able to get a steal. Davon Brown used his athleticism to jump up there and steal the inbounds pass, and the rest is history. So
that has to make you feel good that your team can. I noticed that you scored 15 points in the last two quarters. Came back after being down at halftime like that and come out in that second half. And in the past, we've had a tendency to kind of let down in that fourth quarter when we need to really push it and get back in the ball game and take control of it. It sounds like you did a good job of coaching the kids last night.
Yeah, it's been a process. I mentioned our previous game was against Northmont, who's a very athletic team. Traditionally, a team that will be able to just beat you with having better athletes. And we competed with them throughout the game. Again, we were down 5 with about 30 seconds left, and made a few plays and tied it and sent it to overtime. So came up short in overtime, a couple of costly turnovers that turned into points for them. And I said at that point, I thought earlier in the season it would have been a game that we probably would have lost in regulation.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, we were able to take a step forward to send it to overtime, and we learned the lesson. We watched the film and saw, hey, it's 2 or 3 possessions here or there that are going to decide the game for us. We're good enough to compete in every game. You never know which 2 or 3 possessions it's going to be, so you have to make sure that you're on your game on every single possession that we have. So we learned from that Northmont experience. The next night, Northmont went out and almost defeated and they probably should have almost defeated Trotwood, who, as we know, is ranked in the state. One of the best teams in the entire state, regardless of division. So it proved to the kids, hey, we can compete with just about anyone. And if we do the right things and take care of the ball, we'll have a great opportunity to be in just about every game. So for us to learn that lesson against Northmont, I think kind of pushed us over the top to earn the win.
Yeah, Northmont, that to me, that was an impressive ball game for you to play. They have so many athletes. Mm-hmm. Perkins is one that, what is he, about 5'10", 5'11", something like that. Can jump right out of the gym, good ball handler, good shooter, mm-hmm. Just a good basketball player.
Yep.
And when teams like that get down to the latter part of a game or into overtime, they have that one person or 2 people maybe, if they're lucky, that they can put the ball in the hands of and say, okay, let's win the ball game. Who's our guy? Who do you want to see having that ball in his hands when it's down to that last minute and it's make or break time?
Well, the nice thing about our team is we have a few different options. We're always gonna ride Ben Schmeezing for all that he can give us. He he's a leader of the team. He's a captain. He's a kid that all the guys look up to, and so he's the first one that we're going to give an opportunity to. But if the other teams know that as well, so they plan for it, and we have got other guys who can step up. Corey Tucker has come on as a huge asset to the team. He's had 30 against Northmont, which is a career high, and then he followed that up with 20 points last night.
Wow.
And he can score in a variety of ways. He's an excellent driver, and he's a good shooter, and he can finish around the rim. So he provides some spark to us. But beyond them, we trust Brown to get to the rim. Hayden, with the ball in his hands, can make the right decision to find the open man. And Mick Karn's been giving us a huge lift off the bench as well. So, we have a few options. Makes us a dangerous team when we do the right things and take care of the ball instead of turning it over to the other team.
Boy, Tucker between the Northmont game and the Walpock game, night and day.
Leaps and bounds, absolutely. And it's something that I've had faith in him since the first day that I saw him in the gym, and saw that not only was it just the first time he was in the gym, but it's every single time. Whenever we've had a basketball function, be it a weightlifting session or a workout session or an open gym, he's been at every single one, and he takes it very seriously and works on his game, and it's paying off for him.
The league standings right now, Butler is still in first place in the American North. They had one loss going into last night. I think they probably won. Butler won last night.
They played Xenia, and they went to overtime and won.
Yeah, and then Sydney's right behind them at 6-2. Butler 7-1. Tip 4-3. Troy, I think, won last night. They're 4-5 now, and we're 3-4 in the league. And then Greenville's yet to win a league game so far. It puts you to 6-8.
Right. On
the season. Last year we had a total of 8 wins all year, and you still got to have a dozen games to go yet, don't you, Diff Coach?
Yeah.
The thing about last year, they went 5-5 in their last 10 games. They split them down the middle. Looking at who you have to play yet, Trotwood again.
Oh no, we're done with Trotwood.
You done with Trotwood?
Just once.
Okay, once is enough.
Yep.
So the teams you've got to play yet. Troy,
we play all the teams in our division again.
So Troy.
And Troy we have twice.
This Friday night coming up.
Friday.
Saturday night you got Stebbins coming in here, I believe.
Yep.
And then you end up the season at Troy.
Right.
So of course that's going to be a monster game both places. Are your boys progressing as fast as you want them to, need them to? Are they ready for where they are?
I'm comfortable and also excited with where the team is right now. Yeah, absolutely. I think we have come together, and as mentioned, there's guys that are stepping up in the right spots to fulfill the role that's needed for to help the team. So, yeah, I'm really excited, and I think we have a great opportunity here, especially with the 3-game homestand coming up.
Yes.
With Troy, Stebbins, and then we have Butler at home, which I've been excited to have an opportunity to play them again. We had them early in the season. It was their first home game, and we just didn't play to our potential. And so I think, them leading the conference, I think we'll be able to give them a good fight.
That's a Tuesday night game. So you got a Friday, Saturday, and a Tuesday?
Yep.
That's the way she goes at home. That's good.
Yep.
You talk about the supporting cast, Corey Cottrell, Harrison, Trey Richmond. These guys coming off the bench cold, I know what that's like. There were times when I had to come off the bench and play too. And it's you're watching the game, you got an idea what's going on in the game, but when you get into the game, you've got to get the adrenaline going.
Right.
So these guys seem to be coming off the bench and doing their job, part-time job.
Yeah, and their jobs are just as important as a starter. That's the way that I approach the games with. Especially now when you get into conference games where all the other coaches and the other teams have specific scouting reports and know what other players can and can't do. So you look for areas to set up your guys in where they can succeed, and where they can most help the team. So yeah, our bench has been a very important part of
Well,
it.
we talked about Smeezy. He continues to lead the GWalk in rebounding, almost 12 rebounds a game. Very seldom comes out unless he gets way too physical in there, or the officials get too whistle happy. I don't know which is more prevalent, but it's never a foul until the whistle blows anyway. So he's averaging 16 points a ball game, almost 12 rebounds. Brown's now in double figures on the offensive average at 13. Corey with the 30 points and the 20 points. He's over 13 now, I would imagine, a game. That Northmont game, man, everything he put up there, it was heading for the circle, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's in one of those zones where he feels comfortable and confident, and as a team, we feel comfortable and confident when he's got it in his hands. So.
Well, if you can get Nick Rigola a little unleashed on the threes, he's done a fantastic job on that pass down the baseline and slam dunk. It really gets the fans back in the ball game. But you need him to hit some threes out there. He's only hit 4 so far this year.
Yeah, he can shoot them in practice, and for whatever reason, he hasn't found the stroke in the games. But we actually had a good one-on-one, heart-to-heart the other day that even when his shot's not going in, with his athleticism, he needs to affect the game in other ways. And I challenged him yesterday to have a great game rebounding, and he responded with 8 rebounds.
Wow.
And that really helps us because that way, even though Ben does get 12 a game, the other ones that are potentially bouncing to the other team, when Ben has 1 or 2 guys boxed out sometimes, there's still another guy coming in if he can use his athleticism to go get those. That helps us tremendously, and he did it last night.
Yeah, you see Hayden going in there for rebounds, offensive and defensive side too, but you're right, Nick going in there flying as high as he can fly can make a big difference because he can get to that ball 6 inches before somebody else does.
Exactly.
And he can make a big difference in there. The confidence in his driving ability. I watch both teams that offensive and defense. They don't always seem to follow the shots like we were always told to do. Follow that shot because a lot of times it's going to come back to you.
Yep.
I don't know what the percentage is on going to the weak side, but a lot of times it can come back to you, and nobody else knows where it's going to go except you, and you shot it.
Yep.
They have to keep working on that. You're averaging just under 60 points a ball game offensively. Field goals, you're at 45%, 51%. Free throws still aren't what you wanted to be.
Well, that's a huge improvement from where it was.
Oh my gosh, yes.
In the last night, Ben was 6 for 8, which that when he makes his, that helps us tremendously because he gets fouled. He's at the line 8 to 10 times a game. And interestingly, in the Northmont game, as hot as Corey Tucker was, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn at the free throw line.
No.
He was 1 for 6.
Yeah.
And he's our best percentage free throw shooter.
Yeah.
But he responded last night with I think 5 for 6 or 6 for 7. So.
I gotta ask you this. I've seen this happen now in several ball games. What's the deal with the officials in the uniforms?
So the players like to accent the color of the uniform with under kind of like Under Armour or like spandex tights type things.
Okay.
And they'll accent it with an accent color. So if we're wearing blue, they'll wear red under.
Okay.
And so we've had a few different discussions on. They're saying it needs to be either white or the same color as the uniform. Now I'm not sure what the specific reason for the rule is because it doesn't affect the number, and I think that's the whole purpose is so they can clearly see the number and call the foul. It's on number 2 or whatever the case might be. So there's 2 different things. There's that, and then the new style is you roll your shorts once or twice to make sure they're on there, and so everybody likes to do that. And there's a rule against rolling it more than once. So it's just one of those things.
Well, I understand with the T-shirts underneath the jerseys, it's got to match.
Right. Yeah.
That's got, if you got a white jersey, it's got to be a white T-shirt. If it's a red jersey, you got to have a red T-shirt. It's got to be the same colors across the top. Mm-hmm. And I can understand that as fast-paced as the ball game is, somebody sees the color and they think it's their team and it's not. It's the other team, and you've got a problem. Right. But I couldn't figure out what in the world the officials have this big deal about the uniforms for.
Yeah. So that's what we've been talking about.
Okay, let's talk a little bit, we're getting into the latter part of your season.
Right.
You've got like 6, maybe 7 games to go, not counting tournaments. When you start thinking about the tournaments, and you don't have the draw now for a couple of weeks, do you focus on the end result of the tournaments, which is the state championship? Do you focus on the next game? For years, I heard coaches out here talk about, we got to get to the regionals. We want to get to the regionals. And they'd get to the regionals and they'd lose. There was no goal after that.
Right.
What's your feeling about that?
Well, for a team like us, we can't look ahead any farther than what's ahead of us. So right now, we just want to focus on the best way for us to go out and defeat Troy on Friday. So that's all we're going to be focused on as a team. For me, when it comes to where we might fall in the sectional draw, what I would like for this team, a great goal for this team, because our sectional is essentially the GWalk Invitational.
Yeah, it's loaded.
You could be a team like us, and we could end up, as mentioned, we have 6 games. We could end up with anywhere between 6 and probably 10 to 12 wins from here. I wouldn't expect us not to win anymore, but just saying that if that's where we end up, we're near a 500 team, and we could be in the bottom of the section, surely on the other teams, how the quality of the other teams. So for us to have a first round game, a winnable game in order to advance would be a very important and positive thing for us. And then we'll see about where we are next, but we'll just be focusing on the one game at a time.
Does that change when you're 13-0?
Well, I experienced that at Yellow Springs, where we had a team that had, was near ranked in the state, and we had high aspirations of potentially making it deep. But again, we had a state champion in our section, so we had to pair ourselves up with the best opportunity to play them in a sectional final potentially, which would open up for other opportunities. So we set the goal of playing Tri-Village, who was the defending state champion, in the sectional final. After we took care of the first 2 rounds, we were able to get there and win, and then we were able to actually win 3 more games after that, which was just icing on the cake for us. But that we played. Once you got that big monkey off your back, then it was carefree at that point. So we were playing with house money. So that's the way that we'll view those. But as where we are with the GWalk being essentially our section being all D1 schools, all high quality competition, we'll try to win 1 game and see where we can go.
Well, I think anybody else in the GWalk that's paying attention had better pay attention to Piqua. You've been in some really, really good ball games that you've ended up losing in the 4th quarter and not necessarily the entire quarter. And you've also been in some of those ball games where you pulled it out like last night.
Right.
So I think with the exception of maybe a couple of teams in the GWalk that you don't want to draw right off the bat, anybody else, you've got a chance taking them out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for a lot of reasons, these beginning with last night and then this next 3-game stretch, and even you can add the 4th game, which is at Tip, are very important games for us, because right after that we turn in our information for sectional. So, and with Fairborn being likely just below us, we and Troy have the exact same record currently. So to go head to head, and then Stebbins is I think 8-7 currently, but we'll go head to head with them. And at that point, we could be a 7 and 8 win team as well. So for us to go head to head and potentially get those wins, we can move up to be what we would consider getting a winnable or a more competitive game, as opposed to having to say, maybe like a Wayne or a Springfield, who are both undefeated and number 1 and 3 in the state in Division I. So
yeah, that's going to be a good game coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Tonight, actually.
Oh, tonight?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Lost my train of thought, but I'll come back to it in a second. Let's take a look at some of the scores and games that you've had since we were here last. The holiday tournament, you knocked off Lehman in the first game, 62-53. Came back against Troy Christian, lost by 2. The big guy just ate you up.
Yeah, that's kind of our kryptonite. Is we're a athletic team, but it's just we don't have even with as physical as Ben is. We list him at 6'2", and that's being generous probably.
Plays like he's 6'3".
He plays like he's 6'6", but he's got the heart of a giant. But yeah, just a guy who's 6'9" that's a tough challenge for us. So
and big 6'9".
Yeah, and even with that, it's a 2-point game here or there, and probably a few possessions there in the fourth quarter where we turned it over instead of got opportunities to score. Yep. And by the way, Troy Christian is no slouch. They're currently 14-2. So I mean, there's as much as you would have liked to have that win. If you lose by 2 points, you've lost to a pretty good team. So.
Yeah, you sure did. Well, you played Trotwood, and then that was pretty much as we would expect. But you came back against 2 wins: St. Mary's 48-39, West Carrollton 76-62, and then you had that debacle on a Saturday. You didn't know if you were going or staying or what you were doing until mid-afternoon, and you had to jump in the bus and get up to Elida.
Yeah, that was an unusual situation. We had weather. We weren't sure if we were going to play or not, and we get on the bus, and we aren't exactly sure where we're going because they played a field house, and the bus driver had directions to their high school. We end up driving through the country as opposed to going on 75 up to Lima. And we end up on the bus for an hour and a half, and the time that the varsity shows up, it's halftime of the JV game already. So for us to and they're a good team,
Yes, they are.
I think they might have just had their first loss, which is actually to Wapak, and so that makes them 12-1 or something.
Yeah.
A good, well coached, and fundamentally sound team. And so, a tough one for us.
Not big team, just basically good.
Yeah.
Basically good. Then we talked about the Northmont game, overtime loss, 78-71, and your win last night, 52-51. Troy, Stebbins, Butler, the next 3 ball games here. And then you go down to Tip City. Then you got Xenia coming in here. They're 8-6 currently. Sydney, 9-5. We had a heck of a ball game against them. Second half, they just absolutely cooked our lunch.
Yep.
and ate it for us too. But we were up 18 in the first half of that ball game, if I remember correctly, and came back and got outscored 45-14, something like that. And Gordon and a couple other guys just decided to take it over, and it's hard to stop somebody like that.
Yeah. Well, they will not be. They won't. I guarantee this time they won't come out with low energy. They'll be ready for us in the first half. So we got to be ready in that one.
Well, then the next to the last regular season game is Greenville. They're currently 1-11 on the season, and of course, as we talked about, you end up with Troy on February 16th. Real quickly, let's talk about next year. Okay, what do you see in your future player wise? You got some big kids, I want to say bulky kids in the JV right now. Nobody real tall, 6'3", something maybe like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Like what we got now. What do you see out of those guys? And then your freshmen too. Your freshmen are got 1 loss, 2 maybe at the most.
Our freshman team is 11-2 at this point. So, it's wide open. With the exception of the few juniors who get time for us right now on varsity. There's a lot of questions to be answered, and they're going to have to prove their worth in the off season in preparation. So, as mentioned, there's a few freshmen who will have the potential to come up and compete for time at the varsity level if people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing in the upper class.
So do you play freshmen?
If they give us the best opportunity to be competitive in a game or in our league, then absolutely.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about today, Coach?
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good today.
Yeah, I bet you
Maybe
are.
a little bit tired. It was an emotional game. The Fairborn is kind of an old school gym where it's
yes.
There's the seating, or the only seating on the floor area is their students, and they're right on top of you, and they're loud, and they have a lot of school spirit, and the upper wings there, it's an old, almost feels like it's being close to right pad. It almost feels like it's a bomb shelter, so it's loud in there.
Well, it's kind of like Stebbins.
Kind of like Stebbins. Yeah. It's like an older version of Stebbins, almost.
Oh, that's worse yet.
So it's loud in there. It's emotionally charged. They were playing their hearts out, and for them to only have 3 wins, they're a dangerous team for that as well. As mentioned, that's life in the GWalk and in our sectional. So
Everybody healthy?
everybody is pretty good. Shrub's battling a little thing with his foot, but he's been able to. We're keeping him healthy enough to play in games, and so we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I noticed at the Northmont game that he had a boot on his foot, and I asked him what was going on. He said a little toe problem, but he was going to play, and he couldn't tell he had a problem.
Yeah, just kind of a precautionary.
Plays through it. Well, listen, we want to thank you for your time again today. We know you're busy with the teaching and the coaching, and it's a long season, and we encourage you to come out and watch this basketball team. They are exciting and fun to watch, and when they're rolling, they are rolling good and looking good, and it's really a good opportunity to come out and watch them. And the game coming up Friday night here with Troy, Stebbins on Saturday. Next week on Tuesday night is Butler, and we hope to come back the next time and talk about 3 straight wins against those teams. So again, for Lloyd Shoemaker, your host, and your coach, Steve Grasso, we want to thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.